Hi Stampers, it's Nancy Novak from StampinShout.com, and I'm working in my craft room tonight, and I thought I would pop on and show you what I'm making. I'm actually going to mass produce about 8 more of these little note cards. I've been making these one at a time so far, and I keep tweaking them and changing them, and I said, okay, I have to get down to business and just hurry up, pick one design, you know, they're not that different, they're all kind of similar, and go for it. So I'm doing that right now, and I just want to show you what I'm doing, and if you need a quick card, maybe you can make this card too. So I am using the Whimsical Tree stamp set. I'm actually using the sentiments for this card. I'm also going to use the Stars Are Shining stamp. I'm going to use this stamp right here with all the little stars. And then I'm using the Christmas tree dies. And I went ahead and I used this die for the Christmas trees. So let me show you what I have so far. So I went ahead and I already cut out my Christmas trees, and I cut them out of the velvet, white velvet sheets. So I cut 2-inch strips, and I got 4 trees out of that. So I actually have 8 here right now. I went ahead and cut about 8 strips of 1/2-inch pieces of Whisper White for my sentiment, and I have some Blushing Bride pieces that are about 3/8 of an inch, and then I have note cards, and that's it for now. So let's get started. So I am going to bring in my note cards and Blushing Bride, and I'm just going to do some swirls. I'm going to bring in a scrap here because I'm going to stamp off on a few of these things. So I'm going to bring in my little dauber, and I'm going to ink up the dauber with the Blushing Bride. I'm going to stamp off, and I'm going to start in the middle because most of that's going to be covered up by the tree. That way, if my ink is a little bit too dark or I get, you know, blotchy or something like that, it's not going to show too much because I don't want this all blotchy. But I can start in the middle because, you know, that first time you touch the card, it usually is heavier in your color. So that way I can make sure that it's got kind of an even color to it. So I'm going to do that. Like I said, I'm going to do 8 cards here really quick. So this Whimsical Tree stamp set and paper, really pretty. So I've been making a few different projects with it, and I have a few more to come. I can't wait. I'm going to do a floating technique with that pretty paper, and I made a few tags. What else? Oh, I made a Christmas card the other day. I posted it on my Facebook page, so hopefully you saw that. That's really a pretty one. If I remember, I will try to pull that one out and show it to you really quick. So yeah, I decided to do some note cards. Note cards are a really great Stampin' Up! Value. You get 20 note cards in your pack and little envelopes. So, and they mail, you know, nicely. You can send them in the mail. So I'm going to send these, I think, to my customers. I have a few more that I have already made, but I needed a few more, and I decided to do this one. Oh, and this is the very vanilla note card. So that white velvet should show up really pretty. My white velvet tree should show up really nice on this very vanilla. We'll see how it looks. I can go back and add more if I need to. And this will be the last one for this little card making. Okay, so then let's see, what else am I going to do? I think I'll bring in my my little tabs here and we'll stamp the sentiments really quick. So the sentiment is, let your heart be light. So that's about 2 3/8, and I'm just going to try to stamp this right in the center of this. It's a light color. Like I said, I went back and forth with what color to use for the sentiment, but I ended up using the Blushing Bride. I was watching the morning show and they were talking about some Christmas traditions that they're to let go, and one of them was Christmas cards, sending out Christmas cards. Boy, I didn't like to hear that. I know that the tradition is kind of waning, but it's one of my favorite traditions. I wish more people would keep it up. I think it's just a really nice way to keep in touch and send smiles in the mail and let people know you're thinking of them. So I will definitely be sending out my Christmas cards, of course. All right, so those sentiments are done. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to angle them like this. And then I'm going to glue a little card strip to the bottom. So nothing fancy, just gives it a little bit of a little extra fussiness. So I'm glad you guys are with me tonight making these cards. I should have timed myself. Well, I'll have to look when I'm all done and see how long the video is. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a strip like this. I probably am not going to do all 8 of these with you guys because we don't need to do all 8 together. And I actually cut it the same length, just like that. And then I just added a little bit of glue to the top of the Blushing Bride and glued it to the back of that white card, like that. So I'm just going to go just add a little bit of a color there. Oh, let's keep going. So I kind of lined it up so I could see it, and then just trimmed the edge, put a little bit of glue there. So just like that. Okay, so I will continue those a little bit later. We'll see how much time we have left at the end. Then my Christmas trees are next. So one side is velvet, really fun, and I'm just going to take my mini dimensionals. I did one already, and then I said, well, I'm going to come on camera and show you guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Oh, here's one. I thought I had 8. This one's got a little dimensional on it. It's already sticking. So I took my little mini dimensionals and I just plopped them on the biggest part of the tree. Basically, it's all on one side. Oh, all on one side, down this one side, like that. And you can fit a couple more here and there. So I put one here at the bottom. And then what I did off camera was I cut one of these in half and I put one up there at the top because I didn't want the top of the tree dangling, and then I put one here. So that's going to be enough to hold this tree on. So we'll do 2 of these. And I'll do the rest a little bit later. I'm going to do this one because this one's sticky. I'm going to make sure I use that. So I'll put these off to the side and finish those a little bit later. Now if you don't have the mini dimensionals, you can use the big ones. You just got to cut them down for this little tree, these little tree branches. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in my pick-a tool, and I'm going to take these off. I'm just going to poke and take them off. Some of them come off easier than others. Oops. It's hard to know which ones I've taken off. Sometimes I can get a whole stack of them on my pick-a tool. Okay, that one's all done. So let's see, let's do a very vanilla. I haven't done that one yet. Oh, you know, I'm going to have to do a very vanilla sentiment, so I'm going to put that off to the side. I cut all white sentiments, so that very vanilla I have to cut a half-inch strip for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my sentiment down. So my sentiment, I'm just going to put a dimensional off to the right, and that can be a full-size dimensional. Because this is on dimensionals, the tree is already on dimensionals, so if I put a dimensional on this other side, it'll be lopsided. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on this side. And then lay your sentiment down. Okay. Then I want you to see this bow that's going on here. It's really pretty. So let me do the inside really quick. I am going to use Blushing Bride, and the sentiment is, may the love of the season warm your home and fill your heart. Kind of a nice little sentiment. So we'll stamp that there. Then I'm going to bring in this little Christmas tree stamp, this little whimsical Christmas tree stamp. And I'm looking for my scrap. Here it is. I want to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp right in the center of my sentiment there. So it's real faint, but it's pretty. Okay, let's go back to the front and finish this one up. So, I'm going to bring in some rhinestones and put a couple of little tiny rhinestones on here. I'm going to go back and show you the cards that I already made. They're all a little bit different. A couple of them I used the champagne rhinestones, a couple of them I used sequins. So I'm going to go like that. Okay, now I'm going to show you this bow. It's really pretty. As soon as I find my ribbon. Here it is. So this is called Gross Grain Ribbon, and it's in the Blushing Bride color. So all I did was I cut a strip, probably, well, I'll cut it and I'll see how big this is. I'm going to cut it down. So let's see, this is about 3 inches. Actually, before I cut it, I actually tied a knot in it before I cut it off. That's a little bit easier to tie a knot in the ribbon when you have more ribbon in your hands. But I tied a knot. Oh, I'm going to do it with this one. So, tie a knot. And before I tightened it too much, I kind of slid the knot over to the end, because you don't need a lot. You don't need a really long one. So I'm kind of sliding that knot over. Okay, so now I will cut this. And then you just start raveling it. So you just grab a thread and pull it, and then that knot will stop it. Do the same thing on the other side. Got a rhinestone here. Do the same thing on the other side. Well, I have a rhinestone, I'm going to use it. Oh, it's from my card. There. Okay, so fray it like that. Now, this stuff is really pretty too, the stuff that you pulled off. If you wanted, you could save that and put it on your card also. Then I just took a glue dot my bow? Right there. So right below my little sentiment, I put a glue dot, and then I added this bow, frayed bow, and then I shortened the fraying so it was even on both sides. A couple little stragglers there. And there you go. So let me show you again. So let's see. I think this was the first one I did, and this is petal. No, what is this one? It's yeah, it's petal pink. And I just wasn't crazy about all the different. Oh, you know what I forgot to do on here? I forgot to stamp my my stars. I'm gonna do this one again, you guys. Okay, one more time. So before I put my tree on, that's why it's better to mass produce them and do them all at the same time. I stamped a couple of like that. Then I put my tree on. This little pick a tool works really good with the large dimensionals. It works good with this one too, but these little tiny ones, sometimes you have to kind of help it along. They're really tiny. Okay, so now we'll put our tree down. Oh, much better with the stars. And then our sentiment. So I'll bring in a dimensional, and I'm going to put it on the right side. Put some glue on this side. And lay that down. And then I'm going to make another bow. Just before you tighten it, kind of slide that knot over because you don't want to waste it. You don't need much. Okay, I'm going to put that on after I do my sentiment on the inside. So let's bring that sentiment in again. So after I'm done here, I'm going to go ahead and stamp all my sentiments, stamp all my trees, do them all at once on the rest of those cards. So I'm stamping off. This tree is so cute. I just really like it. So that's the inside. Go back to the front. We need to add our bow and a few of the rhinestones. I like to use an odd number. So there's my bow that we tied the knot in. I'm just going to pull that off and make sure I put this string that I took off away, because you know I have cats and they'll find this and think it's a new toy. Alright, so again I'm going to get a glue dot here. Put it on the back of the knot, and then just trim it so it fits nicely. Kind of fun. Okay, so there. Don't forget to stamp the stars if you make this card, because the stars are what really make it pretty. So it's pretty too. You know what I could do? This stamp set does come with a punch, so I may punch out a few stars and add it to the one that missed it. But here's one that I put sequins on. Here's one that I actually put, what's the color? Mint macaron on the velvet tree. I brushed it on so the tree's a little bit green. Then I had the rhinestones and I colored them with the mint macaron marker. And there's the one we just made. And then this one is all Blushing Bride, and this one has the champagne rhinestones. And then here's the one we just made. So I'm going to continue working here. There's one more. If you have any questions, make sure you leave comments. Go to my blog tomorrow, stampandshout.com, and I will have the supplies listed that I used and any other information that I think you might want. And